Roy H. Thompson, Colonel, 013291, United States Marine Corps, Commanding Officer, 4th Marine Regiment, 3rd Marine Division. Dallas R. Walker, Major, 058629, United States Marine Corps, S3 Operations Officer, 4th Marine Regiment, 3rd Marine Division. John A. Gonzales, Major, 067813, United States Marine Corps, S2 Intelligence Officer, 4th Marine Regiment, 3rd Marine Division, and John A. Linnemann, Major, 073607, United States Marine Corps, S4 Logistics Officer, 4th Marine Regiment, 3rd Marine Division. The interviewer is John C. Jenkins, Sergeant, 1960178, United States Marine Corps. The interview is being conducted in the Kobe-Ton Valley, Tuy Tien Province, Republic of Vietnam, on 20 May 1967. The subject of the interview is Operations of a Marine Regiment in the Kobe-Ton Valley, Republic of Vietnam. The classification is secret. Colonel Thompson.
I am Colonel R.H. Thompson, Commanding Officer of the 4th Marines Reinforced, 3rd Mar Div. This tape will cover operations conducted during the period 5 April to 22 May by 4th Marines Reinforced and elements attached thereto. The first portion of the tape will relate to Operation Bighorn, which was a joint ARVN U.S. Marine Corps operation conducted during the period 5 April to 21 April. The second portion of the tape will discuss Operation Shawnee from the period 22 April to 21 May. My staff will now cover more specific details concerning Operation Bighorn. The first speaker will be Major Dallas R. Walker, the S3 of the 4th Marines.
Major Dallas R. Walker, USMC, S3 4th Marines. Operation Bighorn was conducted with the 4th Marines minus reinforced to include the 1st Battalion 9th Marines, 2nd Battalion 9th Marines, and subsequently in the operation the 2nd Battalion 4th Marines and the 2nd Battalion 26th Marines. As elements reinforcing the 4th Marines were the normal combat support and combat service support that we associate with a Marine regiment.
I don't know whether we need that.
Among the combat support elements included the 3rd Battalion 12th Marines. I don't have the with 2 batteries, plus we used the 3rd platoon of Company C of 3rd Tanks in an indirect fire role. Our mission was, in conjunction with the 1st ARVN Division, to continue to locate and destroy NVA VC forces and interdict enemy lines of communication in the assigned area of operations, to deny the enemy access to the food-producing and populated areas. Our concept was as follows: that while continuing our present mission with 1 infantry battalion, we would conduct a combined 3-phase search and destroy mission with ARVN forces in our assigned AO. We commenced on 5 April by introducing an infantry battalion under the cover of darkness into the northeast, into an area northeast of Highway 1 to work over the street without joy. Phase 2 began about 13 April, and this was a parallel sweep with ARVN forces down the Songbo on southeast side of the river by elements of the 1st ARVN Division. And then the Phase 3 was a completely search and destroy and leveling operation through the Kobe-Ton Valley, with the ARVN forces working the south side and blocking the high ground.
I'm Major John C. Gonzales, 067813, Major, USMC, acting S2 for the 4th Marine Regiment. The area of operation included portions of two provinces, Quang-Tri to the northwest and Tu Thin to the southeast. The 4th Marines Regimental CP was located at Yankee Delta 533319, right in the center of the entire area. We have the area covered essentially by 3 different types of terrain, and all of which run essentially northwest to southeast. There are about 15,000 meters of sand, flatlands, and paddy lands. These are intermittently dispersed with large lakes, which we classify or call the Finger Lakes. As well, in the flatlands we have the Street Without Joy, which has been mentioned, and a great deal of the rice that is produced for this entire northern section. The Route 1 runs from northwest to southeast as well and separates the sandy flatlands from the Piedmont region, the second type of terrain that we were involved with. The Piedmont region is a rolling countryside with hills running upwards of 50 to 60 meters, heavy brush covered and trafficable readily by foot troops. This extends in width about 10,000 meters. It's immediately broken up to the southwest by the characteristic highland range, highland jungles that are found in South Vietnam. This particular portion is a section of the Annamite Range that runs through to Laos. The range commences abruptly with a ridge line south of our present CP position, running about 200 to 300 meters high, the first small hill mass, relatively small hill mass. This is followed by another hill mass just behind it, about 2,000 meters to the southwest. The downland terrain feature of all of these hills to our south is Hill 674 meters high. It stands out and is an excellent OP and also radio relay site, and was used as such during the Operation Bighorn and a portion of Shawnee. The jungle is characterized by very heavy, dense undergrowth and high canopy, sometimes a double or a triple canopy, running upwards of 100 feet high. The entire area is interlaced with intermittent and free-flowing streams that cut through the jagged mountains in a from a southwesterly to a northeasterly direction. They all flow toward the lowlands, linking in eventually with the South China Sea. A portion of the Piedmont region is also a paddy land, a very prominent feature called the Kobe-Tonton Valley. This valley extends from the Song Bowl, which is the easternmost boundary of the entire region of operation, to the south of our present CP positions, about 4,000 meters in width. It appears to be used frequently by the VC and is also a dominant source of rice for the VC and NVA who harbor in the hills, the high jungle canopied area. The entire area of operation encompasses approximately 700 square miles. The hill mass to the southwest of us was purported to have housed the base area 114, a VC-NVA stronghold for a long period of time. Enough intelligence was collected in the interim to fairly well define or localize their area of operation. We expected in our operation to find the northern sub-regional headquarters located in this base area, containing about 150 men and an NVA unit as such. As well, we expected to find the 6th NVA regimental headquarters. presumably having about 300 men. Additionally, since it was a very large base area, we assumed we would also find huge caches of rice, weapons, ammunition, and other equipment. This was to be verified in the outcome of our final assault on the position base area 114. Surrounding our other area, in the extremities and principally in the flatlands close to the rice, were the 800 Main Force Battalion, the 806th NVA Battalion, each of which had about 400 men, the 810th Local Force Battalion, a mobile battalion which floats principally along the street without joy and has been known to attack Quang Yen constantly, having about 300 men, the Quang Yen Company, a local force of guerrillas, having about 100 men, the Fang Yen Company, local force again, having about 100 men. We also received intelligence which indicated that we were dealing with a sapper company of about 50 men, and that the 808th NVA Battalion was operating near Hai Lang, and the H99 Hai Lang Local Force Company, having about 60 men, was operating up in that same area near Quang Tri. Additionally, up near Quang Tri, we received intelligence that indicated that the 814th NVA Battalion was also attempting to occupy Quang Tri and the area about it.
This is Colonel Thompson, the regimental commander. As stated earlier, the operation unfolded with ARVN moving generally south along an axis of the coastal area with the Airborne Task Force under Colonel Fu. The task organization for that force consisted of 3 ARVN airborne battalions from the National Strategic Reserve and 1 battalion of the 1st ARVN Regiment, plus supporting RF and PF forces and accompanying artillery. The ARVN operation was a continuation of the Lam San series conducted by those forces. They commenced some earlier than our introduction into the operation, approximately the 3rd of April. They began their sweep down from southern Quang Tri province into Tui Tin province along the coastal area. Enemy resistance was sporadic. By the night of 5 April, ARVN forces, and moving generally south, had closed on the Song Tak Ma, which crosses Route 1 at the village of Mi Shan. The ARVN forces continued their movement across the Song Tak Ma and moved over to a blocking position to the end of the street without joy at a position known as Lung Mai. At this point, ARVN left a blocking force in the Lung Mai area, and the rest of their forces did a right flank and came down the river toward the village of Mishan. Meanwhile, on the night of 5 April, we had introduced 1st Battalion, 9th Marines on the southern end of the street without joy, generally at a point where the Quang Dinh and Phong Dinh districts join in that area. 1-9 had moved to that position under cover of darkness, and by the night of 5 April had closed on an old cemetery area at a position known as Dong Ho 2. Some 1,500 meters north and west of the cemetery area, 1-9 had contact with enemy elements which lasted for about 24 hours. This was a heavy contact, and the enemy force was later identified as the 810th NVA Battalion. Contact with the enemy force was broken on the morning of 6 April. We evacuated our wounded, consolidated our positions, resupplied, and continued to move toward the ARVN blocking position. On the night of 6 April, the battalion commander reported that he had closed on what appeared to be about 150 enemy, probably from that same element, the 810. Unfortunately, due to a premature removal of the Arvin blocking position, most of the enemy forces in that closed-in area escaped during the night of 6 April. At this point, 1st Battalion, 9th Marines reversed its course down the street without Joy in a slightly different axis of movement, and in turn closed on an additional Arvin blocking position from the Quang Dien district area over on the southeastern portion of the street without Joy, or approximately at the original point of entry into the street. Contact during the reverse movement was limited to small arms fire and some mine and booby trap incidents. When our forces closed on the Arvin blocking position on that end of the street without Joy, approximately 36 hours later, the second phase of Operation Bighorn commenced. By prior arrangements, forces under the command of the district chief of Quang Dien District, Captain Dien, D-I-N-H, consisting basically of an Arvin battalion and PF and RF forces, were to jointly conduct a sweep, generally on an axis of movement down the improved road from Quang Dien District Headquarters down to An Lo, which is a point on the Song Bo River, just due north of Route 1 at 63030. Meanwhile, the Airborne Task Force under Colonel Fu had closed on the Mishan Phong Dien area at the district headquarters, Pho-Trac. By prior arrangement, elements of the Airborne Task Force were trucked from Pho-Trac down to An Lo, and they set in a blocking position along Route 1 on the northern side of the Song Bo River at An Lo. These blocking positions were closed on by the 2nd Battalion, 9th Marines on the right side, and the Arvin Battalion on the left side, moving on a sweep generally along that road. Again, contact was light, consisting of sporadic small arms fire and an occasional mine or booby trap. Meanwhile, on the night of 11 April, we had moved 2nd Battalion, 9th Marines out of the defense perimeter of the 4th Marines area under cover of darkness to the An Lo area. And on the night of the 12th, they relieved the 1st Battalion, 9th Marines as the attacking force. 2-9 the following morning moved to an assembly area near the 4th Marines CP. And on the morning of the 14th, due to unforeseen developments up north in the Dong Ha area, the 1st Battalion, 9th Marines was chopped to 3rd Mar Div forward for operations in the Dong Ha area. Meanwhile, 2nd Battalion, 4th Marines had closed our area of operations and had been assigned a temporary mission of providing blocking forces, ambushes, and listening posts over in the river areas of my area of operations, generally north and west of my perimeter. 2nd Battalion, 26th Marines had also joined us on the 9th of the month and had replaced the perimeter defense forces around the CP. At this stage, the 3rd phase of Operation Bighorn commenced, which was generally a sweep down the Song Bo River from the An Lo area to the high ground due south of An Lo to the Nui Ban Hill 165 area. 2 battalions of the Arvin Airborne Force moved on the east side of the Song Bo River, and the 2nd Battalion, 9th Marines on the west side of the river. By prior planning, we lifted 1 battalion of the airborne forces from the An Lo area to the high ground at Nui Ban. This became a blocking position for the movement to the south. Upon establishment of that blocking position, that Gila-borne battalion crossed the Song Bo River in a westerly direction and took up an additional blocking position at Hill 165. The movement down the Song Bo was generally uneventful, again with sporadic small arms fire and an occasional mine and booby trap. Upon reaching the Kobe-Tan-Tan Valley and upon closing the blocking positions previously established, the force did a right flank and began to move through the Kobe-Tonton Valley. The movement consisted of the Airborne Task Force, now 3 battalions, moving on the left of the road that goes through the Kobe-Tonton Valley, and including the first range of hills and the high ground in that area, and the 2nd Battalion, 9th Marines, sweeping on the right flank, the road inclusive, to the area of operation. The mission of Bighorn at this stage was to level all known houses, fortifications, bunkers, and other possible installations in the valley in order to prevent or deny the enemy's use of this area for future operations. As a matter of interest, the Kobe-Tonton Valley had previously been cleared about 4 months ago of all friendly personnel by the government of Vietnam. So this had become a free fire zone. In other words, anybody in that area was considered to be an enemy force. The movement through the Kobe-Tonton Valley lasted about 3.5 days. Contact by both the airborne and the Marine forces was sporadic. However, extensive destruction of these installations and fortifications was carried out with engineer assistance primarily by 2nd Battalion, 9th Marines. The overall results of this and the other earlier phases of Operation Bighorn will be covered in the conclusion. It was at this stage that Operation Bighorn terminated, and there was a stand down of about 48 hours in preparation for the commencement of Operation Shawnee, which will be the subject of a following tape.
My name is Major John A. Linnemann, 073607, Major, U.S. Marine Corps, S4 for 4th Marines Reinforced. During Operation Bighorn, primary source of supply continued to remain Force Logistics Support Group Alpha, located in Phu Bai. Resupply to the forces in the Bighorn area came up via daily Roadrunner from Phu Bai to the Bighorn area. Concerning the combat support and combat service support units that came under my cognizance, we had 1 platoon from Company A, 3rd Shore Party Battalion that operated the logistics support area maintained at Operation Bighorn and also provided helicopter support teams for battalions operating away from the base camp. A platoon from Company B, 3rd Engineer Battalion operated a water point and also provided engineer support for battalions operating in the field. A platoon from Company C, 3rd Motor Transport Battalion provided organic transportation to the 4th Marines during the operation. Daily road runners run from Phu Bai to Operation Bighorn was run primarily by 3rd Motor Transport Battalion. Dump levels established for Operation Bighorn. 5 days of supply were maintained in classes 1 and 3. 10 days were maintained for class 5. In the case of class 2 and 4, stockage objectives were determined by 3rd Marine Division G4 in supply and from past history gained during operations Chinook 1 and 2. During Operation Bighorn, we maintained sufficient supplies to feed and equip 2,000 Marines. Primary method of resupply during the operation was via helicopter, with an alternate means provided by the Otter vehicle. Approximately 144,900 pounds of resupply was run by helicopter, 35,000 pounds was run by Otter. The Otter proved to be an extremely versatile vehicle and could operate whenever inclement weather prevented the helicopter from operating. The Otter was a very dependable vehicle, could traverse over any type terrain, especially the type terrain we met during Operation Bighorn. Resupply for ARVN was conducted utilizing U.S. Marine Corps helicopters. However, ARVN resources from PK-17, which is an ARVN base located near An Lo, was their primary source of supply for their units in the field. Marine casualties were evacuated by helicopter, usually directly to Company A, 3rd Medical Battalion, located in Phu Bai. ARVN casualties were also evacuated by helicopter, but were flown to Hue to the civilian hospital for treatment and hospitalization. There were some equipment losses sustained by the 4th Marines during the operation, primarily 3 vehicles of the Roadrunner lost primarily because of enemy mines along Route 1. The Roadrunner was not seriously hampered by these mining incidents, but on a once-a-week basis, a vehicle would hit a mine and would be destroyed. Significant items from a logistical standpoint: during this period of time, the M16 rifle was introduced to elements in the 2 units in the Operation Bighorn area.
Colonel Thompson, Regimental Commander. I will discuss the Commander's analysis of Operation Bighorn. During the operation, extensive liaison and coordination was made between 1st Arvin Division and the 4th Marines. Liaison officers with appropriate communication were exchanged. As the Arvin forces closed down to the proximity of our operating area in the latter stages of Bighorn, Colonel Fu located his headquarters within the 4th Marines compound. The resultant proximity of the 2 headquarters proved most advantageous and subsequently was utilized in Operation Shawnee. This was particularly effective and I believe tended to give Arvin the necessary confidence and wherewithal to do the job that they did, particularly during Operation Shawnee. One problem that we faced in dealing with Arvin forces was the security of future operations. In this case, Operation Bighorn, we felt that to some extent some of the operation had been compromised. This was due to possibly the large number of people present at one of their briefings on the operation, which was conducted prior to the operation at Dong Ha. We recognized this problem earlier, and in subsequent operations, and in fact the later stages of Operation Bighorn, we limited our discussions with key members only of Arvin staff. This consisted of Colonel Fu and 1 or 2 selected staff officers and 1 or 2 of advisors only. This is an inherent danger in dealing with a third country force, particularly so when the allegiance of some of the members of the Arvin staff is questionable. This, we believe, the compromise accounted in part for the limited contact that we had in the earlier phases of the later phase of Operation Bighorn. The largest contact made was during Phase 1 operations by 1st Battalion 9th Marines over in the Street Without Joy, when elements of the 8th Battalion were contacted. Heavy contact was made just at dark in a built-up area in the Street Without Joy. After the initial contact, the enemy was able to utilize the darkness and his better knowledge of the area to break contact and withdraw at a time and place of his own choosing. During this phase, the enemy utilized his normal tactics of mining their routes of withdrawal as they withdrew. Statements of the local population indicate that the enemy withdrew around the blocking forces by taking advantage of the high, nearly full-grown rice to move northward to the shoreline and then utilize boats. Additionally, a portion of the withdrawal was made taking advantage of Arvin's premature withdrawal of the blocking force previously covered. 1st Battalion 9th Marines conducted an 11,000-meter night movement with minimum lunar illumination, although little difficulty was encountered by the rifle companies since their personnel have long been accustomed to night movement. Some problem was encountered by the HNS elements of the battalion since they had not received extensive training in this type of operation. A requirement is indicated here that HNS units of all infantry units must be trained to the same level as the rifle companies when the battalion moves as a whole. The closing of the monsoon season improved considerably the trafficability of both foot troops and tracked vehicles during Operation Bighorn. This was particularly helpful in the logistic support of the operation. One technique used in the highly populated areas, principally with 1st Battalion 9th Marines and to a lesser extent with 2nd Battalion, 9th Marines, was the use of Hoichans, or returnees, who had joined armed propaganda teams on the ARVN side. These small detachments were used with the forward elements of the assaulting battalions and proved most helpful in locating and removing mines and booby traps prior to their becoming a casualty producer. This is most effective and is highly recommended for all future operations. I am thoroughly convinced that many Marines are alive today as a result of the early detection and removal of mines and booby traps by these very capable personnel. The results of Operation Bighorn were friendly casualties, killed in action 22, wounded in action 127. Enemy casualties 70 KIA confirmed, 146 KIA probable, 1 returnee, 9 civil defendants, and 13 innocent civilians. Results of 2-9's operations in the Kobe-Tantan Valley and the destruction of enemy fortifications therein were as follows. Bunkers destroyed 349, enemy gardens destroyed 34, fruit trees 6,665, houses 98, 9 500-pound bombs, 14 tunnels, 10 bridges, 34 booby traps, 15 duds, 44 animals, and 151 fighting holes.